On the first update presentation of this afternoon, I'm going to discuss the OTC drug listing updates and validations. After this presentation, you should be able to describe listing updates for OTC drug marketing authorization, name the latest OTC drug marketing categories, and describe listing updates needed for fiscal year 2025 OMUFA determination. On March 27, 2020, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, or the CARES Act, was signed into law and added Section 505G to the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, which is intended to reform and modernize the framework for the regulation of OTC monograph drugs. OTC monograph drugs may be marketed without an approved drug application under Section 505 of the FD&C Act if they meet the requirement of Section 505G of the FD&C Act, including applicable conditions in an OTC monograph. A monograph is associated and identified with a number that refers to a therapeutic category. It establishes conditions such as active ingredients, uses or indications, doses, routes of administration, labeling, and testing, under which an OTC drug is given therapeutic categories such as sunscreen or antacid, is generally recognized as safe and effective for its intended use. A list of all current monograph IDs and the respective therapeutic categories is available online, and a link is provided at the end of this presentation. Some drug listing updates went into effect on October 1, 2023. That included 2 new marketing categories, OTC monograph drug and OTC monograph drug manufactured under contract. So the old OTC monograph final and not final marketing categories are no longer available as of October 1, 2023. And also the new monograph IDs replaced the old CFR citations for OTC drug listings. The new marketing categories and monograph IDs, once replaced the old ones in October 2023, were only required for new submissions for OTC drugs. As a result, the older submissions that were not updated still remain under the old information. As discussed this morning in the listing certification requirements under FDA regulations, each listed drug must be certified if no changes have occurred since its drug listing was last reviewed and updated. And that certification period is during the registration renewal period from October 1st to December 1st annually. This year in 2024, for the certification period, all OTC drug listing submissions must be updated to include the new marketing categories and the correct monograph IDs. If the old marketing categories or citations to the CFRs are provided in the old listing submission, the submission will not be available for certification, and any revision to those SPLs, if it does not get updated to include the new and appropriate marketing categories and monograph IDs, will fail validation. So as a second update on how some recent changes can affect your OTC drug listings, we talk about the OMUFA facility fees, the FRN for OTC monograph order request or OMOR fee rates for fiscal year 2025 was published in July 2024, and those rates are effective on October 1st, 2024 till September 30th of 2025. As explained in the January 2021 HHS FRN and FDA's subsequent FRNs published on March 26, 2021, March 16, 2022, and March 27, 2023 of fiscal year 2021 to 2023 OMUFA FRNs, companies that first registered with FDA during the COVID-19 public health emergency, or PHE, solely for purposes of manufacturing OTC hand sanitizer products during the PHE were not identified as facilities subject to the OMUFA facility fee for a certain time period. That time period, which extended beyond the end of the PHE, concludes on December 30th of 2024. If all you manufactured and distributed in the U.S. Was hand sanitizers under the PHE, there are two possibilities. If you plan to continue manufacturing hand sanitizers, then you must renew your registration and certify your drug listing for those hand sanitizers. Just be aware that you may be subject to OMUFA facility fees for fiscal year 2025, and be sure to pay those fees as required by law. But if you plan to discontinue manufacturing hand sanitizers by December 31, 2024, then deregister your facility with FDA and delist all your hand sanitizers as required by the provisions and 21 CFR 207. It is also recommended, certainly not required, but it's good practice to inactivate your FDA-signed labeler code if you do not have any other drug listings with FDA, which, as mentioned in the previous presentations, you can always come back and reactivate if you come back to business. So we will wrap up the presentation with some challenge questions. Which statement is true? A, all OTC drug listing submissions currently reference the appropriate monograph ID. B, all OTC drug listing submissions should reference the appropriate monograph ID by September 30th, 2024. C, all OTC drug listing submissions should reference the appropriate monograph ID by December 31, 2024. Or D, none of the above. The correct answer is none of the above. There is no requirement to update your drug listing by a certain date, but obviously if you do not update it before December 31, 2024, but you remain in the market after December 31, 2024, then that will create a problem and your product is not certified, or your listing is not certified and will get inactivated. Challenge question 2. If you discontinue manufacturing hand sanitizers in November 2024 and continue manufacturing other OTC drugs, you may still be subject to OMUFA facility fees for fiscal year 2025. Is that false or true? And the answer is, it is true, because OMUFA facility fees are not only applicable to hand sanitizers for the fiscal year 2025. If you manufacture other OTC drugs, you may still be subject to OMUFA facility fees even after you discontinue your hand sanitizers. Challenge question 3, you won't be subject to OMUFA facility fees if you only manufactured hand sanitizers under PHE and you stop manufacturing them by which of these dates are correct? A, September 1, 2024, B, September 30th, 2024, C, December 31, 2024, or D, September 30th, 2025. And as many of you have correctly identified, the correct answer is December 31, 2024. So if hand sanitizer was all you manufactured during the PHE and you stop manufacturing it, you must discontinue it by December 31, 2024, so you're not subject to OMUFA fees for 2025. So in summary, if you are an OTC drug manufacturer or distributor, there are two things you need to consider and follow by December 31, 2024. The first one would be to deregister and delist if you no longer manufacture hand sanitizers under PHE and you don't want to be subject to fiscal year 2025 OMUFA fees. And for all your drug listing submissions for OTC drugs, you must send an update to reference the latest marketing categories and appropriate marketing authorization if you remain in the market and beyond December 31, 2024, because then your drug will not be, your listing data will not be certified and therefore will get inactivated in January 2025. This page includes some links to useful OTC drug regulations, OMUFA, and also required registration and listing updates to your facilities and OTC drug listings. And with that, I'd like to invite you to listen to the next presentation on drug amount reporting presented by Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. Thank you for your attention.